Well, hello, my friend. So good to have you here again on another creative checkup here at God and Gigs. If you are new and you're just jumping in, or you've been here for a while, I appreciate you making this particular live stream a part of your creative day. Even if you're watching on replay and you couldn't join us right away, I totally get it. This is not the optimum time for everyone, but you still made time for your creative life to see how you can impact and thrive as a creator from the inside out. That's what we do here at God and Gigs. My name is Alan C. Paul. I'm an author, musician, podcaster, and creative coach. I have been creating here in God and Gigs resources for faith-focused creatives like you since 2015. Now have devotionals have been written on YouVersion, the YouVersion app, as well as our books on Amazon, everywhere you can find them, God and Gigs, and our devotional, Your Art, God's Heart. Our podcast, The God and Gigs Show, which has been around since 2016 or so, now has over 300 episodes, and we've been interviewing people all over the creative landscape, from filmmakers and Emmy winners to Grammy winners to people who have played in the White House to people who have played with Prince, Aretha Franklin, like you name it. Shout out, and our love goes out to those who are in the music community who are mourning the loss of Roberta Flack recently. But these are the kind of people that we have been able to share our podcast with, or really interview. And for years and years and years now, it has become a hub for creators who find a home, find a comfortable place to share about their faith, about how they navigate in the mainstream arts and entertainment space without losing their faith. So that's what we do here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I want to go ahead and let you know, if you're watching for the first time, you may not know, hey, you can comment. I can see your comments. You can see right here that we have this little banner. And if you see that banner pop up, that means your comments can also go in that banner, and I can respond to you and say things right back to you. So you're a part of this conversation. It's not a monologue. This is real time, as you can probably tell. And if you do follow on Facebook, you probably have to give Facebook permission to use your name. If you're watching on YouTube, that's not the case. You can just go ahead and comment and it will pop up and I'll be able to share it. And I also like to see a hello from anyone that's watching right off the bat, because it lets me know that the audio is working. I always get worried that the second I go live that I'm talking to nobody, or there's no sound. And just seeing that first comment pop up saying, hey, we hear you, hello, how you doing, where you're watching from, anything like that where I know you're interacting, not only helps the algorithm to know that there's people watching and that we are talking, and that this is not just a single person going live, but that there's actually a conversation going on. And then the algorithm pushes it to other people, which is why I suggest you share it and save it, I guess, but most importantly, share it with other creatives in your walk of life, in your circle, people who would need some of this encouragement, especially on the topic we're talking about today, which is finding your creative personality and being able to become your true best creative self by knowing your current creative personality. So we'll be looking for your comments throughout. I'll be checking in, just making sure that we're responding and talking to each other. Don't want anybody to feel left out. But yeah, I think we are good. I'm looking. It seems our audio and our video is all working well, which is always the most important part. And I think we can go into today's presentation and today's topics. Okay, so I always want to make sure I don't waste your time. So here's what we'll be talking about today: membership and podcast updates, product store. This is a cool thing that I hadn't really mentioned recently and haven't talked about, had a chance to talk about. But we do have a product store that's separate from maybe some of the other resources inside God and Gigs 360. So maybe you said, oh, I want to get some of this stuff, some of these things that I talk about on the Creative Checkup or on the podcast, or in the newsletter as well. I forgot to mention the newsletter, but I don't necessarily want to join the membership yet. Well, there's things that you can get just right off the bat. So I want to show you that shop. Then we'll go into our vital signs, discovering your true creative self. This is where we're going to talk about, like, what is it that allows you to break out of that feeling of being stuck, creative block, whatever you want to call it, and actually get productive, actually start moving towards something. This month for February is the last day of February as we are recording this and putting this live stream out. So if you're watching later, the whole month of February was was our month of talking about clarity. Okay, so clarity was our focus. And the reason that focus was so important was because we're doing what we're calling your best year ever, your creative best year ever. For January, the focus was spiritual alignment. For February, it's clarity. And coming up in March, it's going to be community. So each one of these things is going to build on each other. But if you don't have spiritual alignment with God and your faith, and you don't have clarity on what you're doing, it's not going to be very easy for you to connect with your community. So that's why this all goes in order. And that's why it's so important. I want to close out this last day of February talking about clarity one more time on how to be sure you're in the right place, doing the right thing, that you know what your creative life is kind of headed toward. That's what our goal is in the Vital Signs. Next, we'll get into our lab work. I want to talk about a tool that I'm super excited about that we've been using for a while, but I've never really shared how we use it. And if you're a potential or current podcaster or anyone that uses video in live streaming and recording, this is going to be something you're going to pay attention to as I talk about Riverside and how we're using it. Then the consult. That's where we get to talk to each other. Like I said, this is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. And so I would love to hear your ideas and takes on this topic, which got our Facebook group really excited. It's on training or talent. Which one is more important for a great artist? This sparked so much interesting dialogue and conversation and ideas and people that lean one way or the other. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and that's what we're going to get into. And finally, our prescriptions. That's when we talk about what exactly this will help you to figure out your creative personality. So first, I want to do those updates. And once again, I want to make sure I threw this in because I almost forgot. I know some people don't get a chance to watch every week. So if Aisha Brown is watching, we wanted to welcome you to God and Gigs 360. That is our exclusive app. That is our community. That's where everything in God and Gigs lives when it comes to growing our creative lives outside of the algorithms of Facebook and anything. We own this community. It is an app that you can get in with a creative, our membership levels, our mastermind is that's the creative. I don't know why my brain is not working right now. It is 360 Gold. I just could not bring it to mind. 360 Gold is our creative mastermind level. And then we also have our resources library. That's our level where you can get all the recordings. But Aisha has already joined us. As you can see, there's many other creatives that are in there. We are so happy to have Aisha as a member now. So I want to make sure we welcome her. And as I just mentioned, if you want to just check out the resources that are available, all the workshops we've done, including the workshop we did in February with Marlita Brown, who's a choreographer and an amazing author who helped us with the call of the creative, how to figure out your creative calling. If you're interested in that, go to godandgigs.com/resources and you can sign up for that. It's also a part of the membership. So, recommended episodes. I wanted to make sure you guys knew what was happening in the podcast recently. If you want to check that out, you can always go to godandgigs.com/podcast. So these are the latest episodes, and all of them have been like ridiculously packed with encouragement, with inspiration. Just these ladies that I have here, as well as the third one, which was one of our excerpts. All of them really, when I thought about it, really are powerful. They're talking with Melissa Vargas. She was talking about how she's navigating her new chapter of her creative life in a whole nother country. She's moved down to Colombia from Miami. So now she's living in a new country, but she's still able to advance her creative calling, even though she had to face some amazingly tough family challenges recently. So that was emotionally really just hard to even to discuss, and yet she did it with such bravery. So I would love for you to check that out. That is godandgigs.com/323. Is that 321 is Melissa Vargas. Then 323 is Tuesday Lewis Harris, when she opened our eyes up to filmmaking and how to make it as a Christian actor or producer or really any kind of job in the filmmaking industry. This was something I had no idea had so many layers to it for all of us, not just those of you who might be interested in acting or screenwriting or anything like that. And Tuesday is just an incredible resource for that. That episode is 323, godandgigs.com/323. And finally, episode 324, which just came out, is something that we took from last week's creative checkup because we got into it when it comes to being paid. Many of us as creators, we don't like to talk about the money side, but we definitely feel it when we're not paid on time. And so I was open about my learning how to run my business better, what keeps me being paid, and when I don't do it, why I don't get paid, what is the remedy for that, or how do I fix it so that I avoid those situations of not being paid. That's episode 324. So you can take that part. You don't have to watch the whole creative checkup. You can just watch and listen to that section that we talked about being paid as a creative. Okay. So we'd love for you guys to check that out. Again, all those episodes recently have been really, I guess the kids say bangers. I don't know why I wanted to say that right now. And I mentioned before, some of you have not joined the membership and you're like, well, where do I find tools and these resources if I'm not a part of God and Gigs 360? Well, thank God there are other ways that we can help you even outside of the membership. If you just want some quick wins or some tools or to join us in coaching, there are some opportunities for you. That now is going to be housed at godandgigs.com/shop. Okay, so the shop is where you'll see the one-off tools. None of these are memberships. Some of them are coaching products that will be more like a cohort. So that's kind of like a small membership, but they're not connected to God and Gigs 360 is what I'm saying. These are not inside the app. These you can get anytime you want. We have things like our income planner, which you can really just pay tiny amounts. I think it's pay what you want. But you can figure out what you want to get done in terms of your income streams for the month. It's extremely effective. I'm about to use it literally right now to start planning for March. We also have our do-it-yourself consistent creative challenge. This is a challenge that we wrote and did with several hundred creatives over the last few years, but I designed it now so that you can do it on your own whenever you want, and you can get that. So many products you can grab at the shop. So I would definitely recommend you check that out. Anytime you need a quick win or you're looking for a tool, that's where you'll find those products outside of our membership. Okay, let's get right into discovering your creative self. This is why many of you are here. And so I want to go ahead and make sure we jump in and talk about this, because here's what I really have found to be the case when it comes to many of us creatives. I'm 99.9% sure if I'm talking to you right now, you are a multi-hyphenate creative. In other words, you are a musician and an author and something else and something else. It's so rare to find a creative who doesn't have multiple gifts or talents, even if they're not necessarily at the same level of expertise. You may not be as good a musician as you are a dancer. You may not be as good a singer as you are a writer, but I've found very few of us creatives are only good at the one thing and then no other creative gifts manifest themselves. Almost always we're finding that you are a multi-talented creative. Now, the problem and the blessing of that is, of course, the blessing is you have so many gifts that you could probably use or exercise. The issue is when you are then so confused or so overwhelmed by the choices that you have that you never actually move forward with any of those creative gifts. It's when you feel like, wait, should I start with a book? Should I write? Should I do my art? Should I try to become a professional singer? You have all of these possibilities and you don't end up moving on any of them. And so you get into what many of us call analysis paralysis, right? You start analyzing everything. And even as you're analyzing, you're not getting any closer to any of these particular goals. Now, I've had to face this myself. I want to be very, very transparent because I've gone through seasons of not feeling like I was walking in my creative best because I had multiple gifts and multiple goals, but none of them seemed to be taking off, or I just didn't know how do I express them. Music for me has always been the easiest one. And by the way, as you're watching, I would love for you to share in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live, what gifts or talents have you had to balance? Have you had to balance your creative work in dance with writing, or what are your multi-hyphenates? What are your lines that you say, I'd like to do this. Like, I would love to just know in the comments, what are the giftings that you enjoy and where have you maybe struggled to pick one or the other, or maybe you've been blessed and maybe you've been able to balance this out the entire time. But I don't want this to be a place where we don't share exactly what's going on in our creative lives. I want to be most effective, so I want to make sure I know exactly what we're talking about and who is in this group. I'll take God and Gigs 360, for example, our membership. In that group, we have people who are doing podcasting and music, playing jazz, and they are excellent writers, they are poets, and they can do all of them. And they express themselves so well in all three. It's kind of hard to like see how in the world can you do all this at the same time. Same thing with many of our other creatives. I can think of one who's an actor and a writer and a singer. So kind of like this multi-level, what I'll call triple threat. There's all these different ways that you can call these creatives that have multiple gifts. Now, I want to challenge you with one particular question. Does this mean you should focus on only one of your gifts at one time and not touch any of the other ones? If you are singing, does that mean you shouldn't even be thinking about writing right now? If you are writing, does that mean that your music career needs to be on the back burner? I'm not saying that at all. Clarity in this case is not about only picking one thing or only picking one focus, because many of us do exercise different creative gifts kind of in tandem. As you write, you're also thinking of things that you could draw. As you draw, you're thinking of things you could sing. These creative gifts can work together, and most of us are not going to be able to pick one. Here's what I mean by clarity, is knowing where you're at in each one of these fields. Are you pushing forward as a professional? Is this something you're doing just for fun? Is this something that kind of sparked your creative life, but you're not going to be monetizing just yet? Is this something that is going to be kind of like your side hustle style thing? This is what we're talking about. I want to see if you know where you are honestly best suited to exercising your creative gifts in a certain way. Now, to do that, I'm really excited about this, because what we have done is we've created a quiz that helps you understand your true creative personality. Now, like I just mentioned, this is not a quiz to tell you what you're good at. If you're good at dance, drama, acting, like most of these things you already know if you're good at them. The question is, where are you exercising your gifts right now? And so in the quiz, what we do is we tell you these, or ask you these questions, and I can actually go to it right now. I'm just going to go and we're going to do just like a little piece of it real quick. I'll have to do share screen. Give me one moment. Let's make sure I can find it. GodandGigs.com. And I just want to show you just, how it starts. I'm not going to show you the whole quiz because I don't want to give you my answers, and that my answers will throw you off probably. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and share screen. Where is it? There we are. And I think I'm going to go ahead and slide out a bit so that you guys can see this bigger. So what we're doing is we just want to take a little bit of a look at this quiz and just say, okay, well, what does this quiz help you discover? What is it important about your creative calling at this point that helps you see exactly where you really are? Well, here's the first question, and this is exactly what I was talking about. You may have multiple different gifts that you're good at. And these are the ones where you can kind of just answer the question. Maybe you're good at music. I mean, for me, I would probably answer music, right? I would definitely answer music. This is hard. I mean, I literally helped create this quiz, and I'm still kind of like a little bit off. I guess I would put this, entrepreneurial and business ideas. And you can put other as well, as you can see, because if you put other, it kind of explains and shows that, there's no way we could have covered all the different possible gifts that you have creatively. But you can see acting and drama kind of covers anything. Acting, writing could be writing for TV. It could be writing books. It could be writing anything, right? Photography, we try to cover anything visual, video, visual arts design, crafts and structural arts. Those are the makers of the room. You know what? And even as I talk about this, I want to go ahead and put writing, even though writing, I don't really know it's how I love to create. I do enjoy writing. I do enjoy writing. It's a little bit of a back and forth with me, but I will put enjoy writing. Okay, so then we're going to put next. And you can see the next question then goes into how does it make you feel? So the reason why this is important in discovering your true creative personality is not, again, that you should not feel joyful, that you should not feel a sense of pride, is that sometimes in these same areas, you may feel a little bit like it's not your wheelhouse. So this is where you can answer this question. Sharing my creativity with the world makes me feel blank. Now, some of you will say right away, oh, empowered, I feel great, fulfilled. Maybe that would be the best word. But some of you might say nervous or overwhelmed or paralyzed. Now, I want to be, again, very honest, no quiz is perfect. So you may feel great in one area and feel kind of crummy in another one. I would say for this quiz, I would lean toward picking the one that is the one that's a struggle for you. So maybe you feel great about singing, but you feel kind of overwhelmed when you think about writing. In this quiz, I would pick this one, overwhelmed, because the quiz is really designed to help you figure out where you really are. And if you only pick the things you're strong at, you're kind of going to skew the quiz towards something that's you already know. This is to help you find something that you don't already know. Okay? So when you go to that part of the quiz, again, if you take it, I would highly suggest that you think about the parts, the creative parts of your life that you're unsure about, that you want to kind of keep working on. And that way you'll be able to give the quiz the right answer. So I'm going to do one more, but like I said, I don't want to give you all the questions because I want you to take it on your own. But yeah, I'm going to put overwhelmed just to see. All right. And then here's another one. Which of these statements describes you best? Do you struggle to deal with the business side of being a creative? Now, right away, you can see this question does allude to the fact that many of you have been considering going into full-time or going to take your creative art into a business. Now, maybe that's not you, and that's fine. But if it is, I want you to go ahead and choose that one when you're taking the quiz. Or it could be I'm often isolated. No one in my circle understands my passion. So again, this is what describes you best. And that's why, again, it's so important to really think this through. I'm kind of like, there's two kind of quizzes, right? There's a test that you take that you answer like right off the bat, and then the questions that you think about. This is one of those where you should probably go with your gut instinct versus think, because whatever hits you first is most likely the authentic answer that you are going to give. If you sit there and think about it for a long time, you're probably not going to get the right answer, or I shouldn't say the right answer. It's not going to get the most accurate answer when it comes to your creative gift. Okay. So that's why I would suggest that you go check this out and answer it in those questions. So just from those first three answers, I feel like that kind of gives you the sense of what we are trying to get to when it comes to your creative calling. We're trying to get to this place where you understand what is it that really makes you tick? What is it that really makes you creatively kind of ball up and not feel like you can go forward? And what makes you feel like you're alive and you can move forward and you have confidence? The goal of that quiz as you take it is to get to the point where you ask what's next. Is to ask yourself, what should you do next in your creative gift to move forward? Because what happens is if you can then identify, here's where I am. So there's one answer that you might get, which is called the closet creative. If you're a closet creative, that kind of shows that you've been sitting kind of in the background. You don't want anybody to know that you sing or dance or draw. And you've been kind of feeling this nudge, but you don't get there. So if you get that answer, after you finish the quiz allows you then to ask for and to request resources related to being a closet creative and how a closet creative should move forward. This is why this particular test is so effective, is because I'm not just asking you these questions because I want to know and collect data. This is actually a diagnostic for you to then get your answers, the answers that you need to move forward with your creative gift in whatever area you're in. If you're a conflicted creative in terms of your faith and your calling, If you are a corporate creative, which means you're still working the 9 to 5, if you're a closet creative, if you are a confident creative already and you just feel like, wow, I should be moving forward faster, this quiz is going to help you. So discovering your true creative self is identifying where you are, where you're operating right now. And as you saw, that particular quiz is only 6 or 7 questions, but it's highly effective. So I would really recommend, if you've been struggling with this at all, go take the quiz. It's going to open you up. It's going to make you think. It's going to give you some guidelines and some suggestions of how you can move forward with your creative life so that you're not stuck, so that you're not overthinking, so that you're not just in this kind of cycle that doesn't ever open up to you walking out your creative calling and fulfillment, productivity, and really blessing God and blessing others with what you've been given to create. All right, let's move ahead now to our lab work. And these are our tools for video and podcasting. So now, if you're not a podcaster, you might want to tune out because you're like, well, I don't podcast. I don't really need to know anything about video and podcasting. Here's where I would beg to differ. If you are even in any kind of creative calling, you're probably going to be using some sort of presentation, some sort of meetings, something like that at some point. Or at least you should be teaching people what you know. So at some point, you're going to need some type of video. And as you can see, even right now with God and Gigs, we use StreamYard to do this on the actual streaming of our live streams. But I like Riverside for the actual podcasting part. And it's because and this came up just recently, just when I did a coaching call with one of our friends that actually has been on the podcast really recently. She's getting ready to do a podcast. And so we had a coaching call and we could not, the Zoom link didn't get created in time, right? So for whatever reason, I didn't have a Zoom link. And so I was kind of scrambling, oh gosh, do I create the one? Is it the private link? Is it the public link? I couldn't find it. And so my friend who was on the podcast, she said, oh, wait, I still have a Riverside link. And I said, oh, that's right. I already sent you a Studio Riverside link. And Riverside is a software application, software as a service, that allows you to create these high quality podcasts and videos and live streams, as by the way. They also do live streams now. And I said to myself, oh, that it's already there. It's a private room that's set up all the time. And when I tell you, honestly, it was so much more relaxed to do Riverside. And I never would say Riverside is a replacement for meetings. It was just an eye opener for me. It was because I realized that so much of Zoom, no matter how you slice it, is just not a pleasant experience. And so to do my meeting on Riverside was like an eye opener for me. I really enjoyed it. Now you might ask, okay, well, what else does Riverside do? Well, I use it for all of our podcasts, including the remote video you see right there. That's me and Tuesday talking. And so now I use that for all of my podcast episodes. So you can bring a guest in. Your guest in comes and she doesn't or he doesn't have to put in any further software. It's recommended that they use a laptop versus a phone. They do work on phones, but it's totally up to you. But that is where, and let me see, I got to make sure, see if I have a link to this, because I do believe it's Riverside. Okay, I almost said .com. It's not Riverside.com. It's Riverside.fm. I'm glad I caught that. And let me just see if we have a link for that through God and Gigs. I'm not sure we created that yet. I'm actually thinking I should probably get on that. Riverside. Let's see. I think we do have a link. I just forgot that we had one. So I did this a couple of days ago. And I'll just have to try to log in and see if we have it. I don't think I've created the link though. So, I'm always going to try to get, a little bit of the God and Gigs, affiliate love in there. I'm always going to try to do that. But if I don't see it already, I'm not going to worry about it. I don't see it. I don't want you guys waiting. So Riverside.fm is just the quickest way to get there, okay? All right. But I'll probably create that before the end of the day. So if you want to use a God and Gigs affiliate link, check me out. Hit me back, and then I'll send it to you. All right? So anyway, long story short, Riverside is definitely my choice for podcasting. And I could give you a quick look back into that. I guess, you know what? Type in Riverside in the chat or in the comments if you actually want a tutorial of how we use Riverside, because I want to make sure this is actually applicable to everyone. Most of you, if you're not a podcaster, you may not be ready to use it yet, but then you might also say, like my coaching client, she said, oh, I've already bought it a year. So now it's like, oh, shoot, like maybe I should be sharing how I use Riverside because some of you might have already purchased this. So let me make sure I make that link right now for those of you who want to just get it and not wait for the link from God and Gigs. It's riverside.fm. That's the actual link to go check it out, okay? But again, maybe I'll email out a link once we have God and Gigs all set up on there so that we can put it on our tools page as well. But that is our goal. That is our, my brain is just not firing today, man. I don't know if I'm sleepy or whatever. That is our recommendation for those of you who are doing podcasts. And I would love to know, again, if we have more podcasters in the God and Gigs community, because what I've noticed is, again, a lot of you are already on podcasts. You just haven't shared it. You're creating it, but you just haven't really done. Oh, wait, there it is. I found it. All right, we do. All right, I'm going to have this done. You guys, I said stop thinking and start work. So we're going to have this in the next 2 seconds. Watch. Let's just go ahead and get this done. Oh, wait, I think I already do have it done. Let's see. Your podcast production. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Whew. All right, so you guys see how quickly I had to bump that up? I do that through Pretty Links. So now, let's just go ahead and put this one instead. There we go. Isn't that prettier? godandgigs.com/Riverside. Isn't that better? I like that better. And it's not just because we get a bonus from using it. It really is because if I'm using a tool, I want it to be obvious that we are supporting that tool. I don't want to just recommend things and then not really be connected to God and Gigs in terms of what we actually use inside our membership. This is what actually happens. We are actually using the tools that we are sharing. So it's important to me that you know that I'm not just saying, oh, just go get this. When you see godandgigs.com/ and then the tool, that's something we've used. Either we've used or we highly recommend because we've seen it work for other of our creatives inside the community. So that's why it's important for me to have a link, not just because of the affiliate. The affiliate is just a bonus. Okay. So that is our tool for the week. Again, if you're interested in high quality podcasting, high quality video, it's been working so good for us. And again, what's funny is that, again, they do live streaming. I cannot vouch for them on live streaming only because StreamYard has been so much more effective for me in terms of doing what I'm doing right now. So that's for our live stream. So we do kind of like mix and match tools here. Like I'm not only using one specific tool for everything. I've found over the years that certain things just work better for certain things. So if you want to see all of the tools we recommend, you can go to godandgigs.com/toolkit. I'll probably add a Riverside by the end of the day, just so that there's a separation between the Riverside and StreamYard. But you can find a link for StreamYard, I believe, already on Toolkit. So we use that for live streaming only, and I use for podcasting, I use Riverside. That's kind of like how we use our video tools. And you can see there's like dividing line there, and you can, try them out. If there is a trial, always use the trial first. Never, if you're not sure about it, just go ahead and see if there's a 14-day trial and use the 14-day trial. And then after you see that, let's go ahead and invest, then go ahead and invest. Okay. All right. We're doing good time now. 1:40. I want to go ahead and jump into our consult. I think we have a few friends who are joining us. Please go ahead and comment if you're able to comment. And I know some people you're watching on your phone, you're either at work or you're doing something else and you can't comment, can't necessarily get in there and use your keyboard. I totally get it. But if you can comment, I would love for you, especially on this section, grab this real quick. I would love to hear your comments on this particular segment. talent or training. So this came up. It kind of came up from two different places. It came up from some conversations we were having about clarity. As I talked about, this month is all about clarity, creating great work, and what actually allows you to create that great work. What is it that helps motivate you? So it might have been some conversation we were having in our God and Gigs Mastermind. We have every second Monday or every second and fourth Monday, we have our mastermind calls inside our God and Gigs 360 for our accountability group. And that was one of the conversations that came up with, if you don't have training for your talent, it really doesn't matter how talented you are. But then some people do try to overcome their talent with training. In other words, they're not as talented, so they try to outwork you. But then some people who are extremely talented and they rely on their talent, they don't actually push forward with their gifting as much as they could because they're simply trying to kind of just use their God-given talent, and that's the only thing they rely on. So my first question to you, if you're watching on replay and or live, if you're watching this now and you can reply, which one of these do you feel is more important? And again, more important. It doesn't mean the other one isn't important. Which one is more important when it comes to your creative work? Or I should say, not your creative work, to a great piece of creative work, to great art, to like reaching the pinnacle, like the guys and the ladies that we admire. We usually see that they are insanely talented, but we also see that they have a uncanny discipline and ability to focus and to train and to do things over and over again the right way. So I don't know, like as soon as I say that, maybe it's both, right? Maybe they're equally important. But I'm just curious because in the Facebook group, let me pull up some of the questions. Let me pull up some of the answers that we got. I love StreamYard. It's just added this. StreamYard now lets us just put up pictures so we don't always have to do the PDFs, which is really cool. I think this was the one. Let's see what it allows me to do. Yes. So here's some of the answers we got. From Chantel, she said training. Tyrone said he's going with talent in regards to music. I do believe both go together, and training can make talent better. Jai Will said some people, talented people, can outdo training. That's an interesting thought, and I really thought about that. You know, I wonder if they jump in, they can like kind of expound on some of these answers. Some people overcome not being talented with hard work. That's kind of like what I said, where I do believe there has to be some implicit talent, like God-given ability in a certain area. Like if you are, I hate to say it, if you are height challenged, I mean, I remember Spud Webb was like 5'3", 5'4", or something like that, 5'5". Like he was an incredible basketball player. He was tiny, tiny, tiny. So even these people can, but he had an insane amount of talent even at his height. So we're not talking about physical attributes as much as just your talent, your natural talent for something. And they overcome not being talented with hard work. I believe that is part of it. But I guess in the arts, we do see where there has to be some innate talent that's available to the person to work on. Very seldom do you see the person that can overcome a lack of natural talent entirely. And again, this is where, even as I say that, it sounds really like elitist. It sounds almost like I'm dismissing people's ability to overcome obstacles of any sort. And I'm not saying that. I just wanted to be clear in our community that we are open to the need for talent, the need and the understanding that some things we are gifted, kind of like going back to clarity. Some things we're gifted to do. We are gifted to do them, and God actually gives you an evidence, and people will notice the evidence of what you do well. And they'll point you toward what you do well. And the more they point you towards it, the more you're like, wow, I am good at this. Let me get some training. Oh, and I remember the second reason we talked about this. The second reason is our conversation with Tuesday on episode 323. because she was really, really, really pushing on some of these actors and some of these people who want to be in dramas and plays and be on Broadway and be in Hollywood. And she basically said it like, if you're not getting acting classes, if you're not getting the training, it doesn't matter how good you are naturally. You have to be in a seat of a student and learning the business and learning how to act better. And for musicians, this means the practice room. This means getting the teacher. That means shedding. Some people call it shedding. Some of y'all remember the old school word. I don't know if they even say shed anymore, but shed, SHED. That was what really made the great musicians great musicians. It's because they practiced like mad, because they would not take mediocre and accept it. Like they had to be great, and they had to practice until they were great, which meant they had to play a lot where they didn't sound great. They had to really, really focus on that. And so that's where I feel like, again, many of us are bouncing back and forth. Some of us are not moving forward because we feel we lack the talent. Others of us have the talent, but we lack the training. And honestly, the training just comes down to wanting it enough to invest time and treasure into it. If you invest time and treasure, you're kind of proving that, yes, I'm willing to do the hard work. I'm willing to advance and develop this talent, just like, the 5 women who were, the talents, the man that got 5 talents and then the man that got 2 talents. Both of them were like, yeah, we're going to invest in ourselves. We're going to build on, we're going to invest and multiply the master's resources so that they can get the reward later. And the only one that was punished, that was chastised, that was basically called lazy and called evil, was the one that didn't do anything with his talent. And this is where, again, the training, the investing. And again, I want to be very upfront. This includes communities like God and Gig 360. Many of our people have seen us for a while and they wonder like, well, how do you do it? And how do you, well, once you invest for a long period of time, you start to see the benefits because you're actually getting in front of people who are doing it at a high level like you or want to do it, and you stay in the seat of the student and you start to grow. And had I not been, I did a post recently on the Facebook group with all the different groups that I have been a part of. Now, some of these I just bought like a $17 challenge. Other I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on over the course of a few years. And what you're seeing in terms of my growth as a musician and as a podcaster is a result of me, whatever natural talent God gave me is a result of me investing into training that would then help grow that talent. And I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I'm using myself as an example of someone that had to put my money where my mouth is. If I'm talking about people getting training for their talent, then I need to also be getting training for my talent. And it could be as a speaker, it could be as a writer, it could be hiring an editor like I just did for my devotional that's coming up. We're working on our new YouVersion devotional. So we already have one, but I had to work on another one, which means I had to submit myself to an editing process because I want my writing to be better. So if my talent as a writer is okay, but not great or could be better, then I need to work on that. I need to get training for that. And that means spending some money and spending my Friday mornings. As a matter of fact, I thought about it. I don't know if I had a meeting. I hope I didn't miss my meeting with my editor today because it's Friday. So I'm sorry, Brianna, if I missed you. I didn't know if I saw a new message from her. So now I'm worried that I missed my editing meeting. So this is what we're talking about. Being willing to grow as a creator, being willing to put your talent in the hands of someone who's being trained. So I see a couple of us watching live. If you're not able to comment, once again, I get it, but I would love to see before we move ahead, because we have about 10 minutes, which one do you think is more important in your life, talent or training in terms of your best creative work? Which one would you give more weight to? Was it that you needed the talent to even be able to stay on the stage with certain people? Was it just clear that there's a certain level that you cannot enter into until you have a certain level of talent? Or could you say, no, it was my training. It was my training to be at a certain level that I pushed myself through, and even less talented or more talented people did not do as well as I did, or I could see the difference when people were relying on their talent. I would love to see a few more of those comments because, like I said, that was a great discussion piece inside the Facebook group. If you are in the Facebook group, I would love to hear your comments as well, even as we're sharing now, because I know we are sharing inside the Facebook group, and maybe some of you did not get the chance to answer that question. So I will put it as a featured item on there so that you guys can continue to respond to that particular question, because it really does come to the heart of what we are doing as creatives. Are you investing in your own craft? Do you recognize the gift that God put in you, your talent? And then if you recognize that talent, are you then investing in it and training yourself even more? Okay. I hope that was a great discussion for you because I enjoyed that. All right. So we're going to get into our prescriptions because this is the last part here. We've got a few more minutes left. And of course, as you can probably tell, we're all about figuring out your true creative gifting, your true creative personality. If you watched earlier, you can go back if you missed it. You watch on replay. I walked through like the first 3 questions of the creative personality quiz. And we talked about how knowing where you are will help you define where to go next so you can be more productive and creative, because you're not in a place where you're just thinking about, oh, well, am I this or am I that? Do I have enough? We just talked about talent or training. Where do I need to move forward so that I can have clarity in my next step? If you are stuck, it's probably because you're thinking too much. That's why even on the headline, I put stop thinking. Doesn't mean to not think about what you're doing. It means to not overanalyze. If you get the information, if you start to know where you're at, you're going to be able to move forward with confidence. And so like me, I'm moving forward with my writing. It's the number one thing that needs to get done. I know that as a confident creative that I need to get some resources around me. It's not a matter of not having enough. It's a matter of being more systematic and more intentional with each move that I make. So that's why I know that's got to be hiring the editor, working on my systems and processes as a creative, because I know what stage I'm at as a creative. And you know, it's funny, even as I say that, I'm going to talk out loud and think out loud for a second. Help me out with this. I don't know if there is a progression of everybody moves the same direction. So I don't think everyone goes from corporate to conflicted to, these are 5 different levels that you could be at, but they don't necessarily coincide to like a ranking. A confident creative could also have some aspects of being a conflicted creative. Okay. So there are little mixes here in the quiz where you don't have to be all one. It will give you one answer, but I will definitely suggest that you just kind of use it to evaluate, but it's not like a one size fits all. Like you can take it and then decide, oh, you know what? I kind of feel like that question there, I could have answered that 2 different ways. And so you could probably go back and take the quiz again and just use a different email address. If you use a different email address, you'll get a different answer. And that's fine, because it helps you kind of get an idea of, well, if I answered it this way, what would be the answer? So that I would highly suggest once again, because it helps you get a feel for where are you really at. And sometimes, honestly, Andrew said it like this: the quality of your answers will be determined by the quality of your questions. And so the best thing about this quiz is the quality of the questions. It sounds even weird to say it when you say something like, well, do the answers matter? Yes. But what matters more is the quality of the questions. Okay. So if you ask yourself questions like this, you're going to get good answers, and then you're going to know where to move forward in your creative calling, because you're going to have a better sense of who you are as a creative right now. If you know where you are right now, you're going to do better. So that's my suggestion for you. Okay. So we are almost done. 5 minutes. I want to go ahead and review. Thank you so much for everybody who joined us. If you joined us on LinkedIn or one of the other things that we don't necessarily always get to go to, we don't always hear from LinkedIn. We haven't heard much from Facebook today. I know a lot of you watch on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're watching the replay, please let me know that you watched the replay and that you watched it on YouTube. But I would love to hear from our LinkedIn people. If you are watching on LinkedIn, you're checking out this later, or you're watching right now, I don't believe I'm able to pull up LinkedIn comments. And I think that's part of the issue, which is Maybe people are responding on LinkedIn and I don't even see it because I can't. As a matter of fact, it might slow the computer down for a second, but I'm going to take a quick look and see if I can see what's happening on LinkedIn under the events and see. Hopefully it will not play twice and you will hear the echo. Let me silence this. Make sure it's, yeah, okay, you shouldn't hear it because it's on the headphones. So yeah, we are live and you are able to comment still, even on the replay. So if you catch this on LinkedIn, please let me know because I'm definitely interested in whether LinkedIn is becoming a place that we should be going live. I'm going to continue to do it because I just feel Instagram got us some people watching, but it never felt like it was truly interactive. Because those people can't really click over to any links. Like once you're on Instagram, you're kind of stuck on Instagram. At least on YouTube, you can actually like click away. You can go different places, but Instagram doesn't allow you to click links. So even as I send a link, like you can't actually go to that place. You can't, you have to, go on your phone and do something else. So we always felt like, LinkedIn is a little bit more tailored to what we want to do as a community as well. All right. So again, if you're following on any one of those two things, let me know. Remember our recommendations this week. Please go check out one of these great episodes. You can go find all of them at godandgigs.com/podcast. That's episode 321, episode 323, episode 324. Episode 322 was our replay of Carlin McCullers. So that was an amazing one too. Only reason I didn't use that one was because it was a best of, but that was an incredible episode as well. But these are the most recent ones that we've done of new content. So that's why I wanted to make sure you saw that. Remember, once again, we have this new shop. Let me go ahead and put that in, godandgigs.com/shop. And that, I don't have a banner for yet. Let's just make the banner. Every time you guys have been watching me forever, I always forget to make banners. Every time I'm like, oh, I don't have a banner for this. And you would think after all this time, I'd have all the banners I could possibly use. And every week there's a new banner that I don't have. So let's make it. godandgigs.com/shop. That is where you can now get these resources that are, that's the resource page. Where's the shop? There it is. This is where you can now get those resources that are not inside the membership. Okay, so if you want to get the income planner, if you want to get our DIY consistent creative challenge, any of those things, you want to get those are all inside godandgigs.com/shop. All right, that's where you can find everything there. And I already mentioned the quiz, so I think we're good. Okay, God bless you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this creative checkup. It really did bless me. I'm blessed to know that you are a part of this community. And if there's any other way I can help you, remember, you can always comment here. You can always send me an email at alan@godandgigs.com. I would love to help you in any way that I can to continue to become the creative that you were created to be. God bless, and we'll see you guys next Friday. Monday, it will be for the podcast. Okay? So see you guys then. Take care.